10-speed automatic transmissions have been on the rise for the last 10 years. Ford and GM both went in together on a joint venture creating this 10-speed. When I say 10-speed, I mean the 10R60 that are in the Explorers and some of the GM models, the 10R80 that is in the F-150 and the Silverados, and then you have the 10R140. These are all the Ford names for them. Of course, GM has 10L80, but they're basically the same thing, and they are in most of the vehicles that we are seeing sold right now, and they're going to be in most of the vehicles for, I think, at least the next 10 years. So with that in mind, what are some of the pros and cons of this transmission? If you've ever driven one of these 10 speeds, you'll know this first pro. It is that the engine is always in the peak power band. It keeps it in the perfect RPM. It almost sometimes feels CVT-like if you've ever driven a CVT that just revs and just goes and it never shifts. It's kind of like that in the 10-speed. Now it has shifts, but they're so fast. It's whoom, 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 and it's just shifting as fast as it can to keep that engine right in the RPM range where it wants to be. Overall, the 10-speed is great for towing and performance. You're honestly not going to find a transmission that outperforms the 10-speed. Reliability-wise, the earlier units from Ford are okay. They're not the most reliable. They have some design flaws, but luckily for us, they've been updating and fixing issues with this transmission. So a lot of the 23, 24 models are supposed to already have these updated parts that we're putting in the older units. So reliability is getting better with the 10-speed for sure. Make less stops at the gas station. It's definitely going to get you way better fuel economy because we can keep this thing in a much higher gear ratio, which is going to burn less fuel. Now, some of the cons of this thing, like you just heard me say, the early units were kind of plagued with issues. We have the CDF drum bushing issue where the bushing would move, cause pressure loss. We have the outer shell issue where it beats into the aluminum. The F clutches are much harder than the outer shell aluminum. If you've driven a 10-speed for any amount of miles, you know that they're kind of funky. They're weird. One morning they might do a weird shift and the next day they shift fine. Kind of can be really finicky, and a lot of that has to do with the throttle input from you. It tries to learn the best way to shift for your driving, but sometimes we can, let out of the gas, get in the gas, let out of the gas, get in the gas, and the transmission just does not know what to do, and it freaks you out, and then you end up calling me wanting it fixed, and there's really just nothing wrong with the transmission. So it is kind of weird to get used to. One of the biggest downsides to the 10 speeds, and this is slowly getting better, is not a lot of shops will work on them. If you want to step outside the dealer to independent transmission repair shops, there's not a lot of them out there that are really wanting to fool the 10 speed yet. But I think in later years that is really going to grow because, like I said, there's going to be millions of these transmissions produced over the next 10 years. I'm telling you, they're going to be everywhere. So you need to get familiar with the 10 speed automatic transmission.